Christine, do we have everybody back with us? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your input. I think at this point, we're interested in getting a quick report out on maybe the 2 or 3 biggest items that got the most attention under each of these questions. And that way we'll be able to let everybody know what was talked about in the 3 separate groups. Nick, do you have somebody in your group, or are you going to be reporting? How are we going to do it?
Yeah, so I asked at the beginning of my session, but we didn't get anybody. And then we kind of abruptly ended at the end because we were still going on comments. So I'll just go ahead and provide some of the main thoughts and ideas that were shared during our breakout room.
Great.
I'm gonna just put up the notes that I took during our breakout room meeting. And some of the things I thought that were that are very important, and all these are very important, but some of the main takeaways were that the best things that people loved about the community is that it's a small town and rural character. There's a lot of participation throughout the community, particularly of nonprofits. Farming and ranching is very important to the community, and reflecting agribusiness and their needs and the things that they need to have will be important moving forward. What could be better about the city in the future? People would like to see roads being improved as more development comes in the city, and having better access for bicyclists. Improving Highway 12 is important, and that needs to be improved. And having a bypass was something suggested for traffic coming through the city from other destinations, and having local traffic having its own roadways and an area for them to travel more efficiently. Diversity is also important in the city, and leadership positions at the city, having more diversity is important. And also in terms of the biggest issues and how to address those and what should be addressed, there is a perception that it's not easy to start a business in the city. So that can be a hindrance for businesses coming in to Rio Vista into the downtown, or people wanting to start businesses in the downtown who lived in the city. They feel can be difficult, and changing that mindset or that perception is really important. The last thing I'll say for the biggest issues is really transportation as a whole in the city, whether it's movement by cars, moving by being able to walk or to bike around the city, or public transportation, all needs improvement. It sounds like there's just a lot of need for better walkways, better pedestrian access from the outlying neighborhoods to downtown, and improving traffic flow. So a lot of great thoughts and comments in our group. Thank you for all sharing that today. Great,
thank you, Nick. If you could stop sharing, and then we'll ask Eric. What did you hear in your group, Eric?
We actually have a spokesman. We have Jim. So Jim, I'm going to put my screen up so you have the board that we produced. And yeah, a lot of really great input. So Jim, do you want to take a crack at summarizing what we came up with?
Okay, I think we have are you muted, Jim?
I've asked him to unmute himself, so if he
I am muted.
There you go. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like Eric to team up with me, because he's written everything down, but my eyesight is getting so bad and the screen is so small that I'm not sure I will be able to read what's there. It's hard to take 6 people with 6 ideas, have 36 ideas, and give you 3. That's not fair. Okay, that's not fair. But anyway, Sue Clark in our group, she hit on a couple of items. She hit on the airport being compatible with the residential and the surrounding uses, and she thought that's a very important topic to include in general plan research and writing of the drafts, even though it has its own commission. because the impacts are outside of the airport runway, it has to all be considered. She hit on safety, the fact that she lives in Trilogy, a gated community. Safety is very important to her, as well as suppression of fires and fire prevention. And she likes the community, the small community atmosphere of Rio Vista and the friendliness of everybody. Ms. Kutera indicated she likes swimming and bicycling, but she really likes the affordability of the homes in Rio Vista. And that's one of the major reasons that she moved there. It was still affordable to have a really nice place to live. She believes we need more stores downtown, that it's lacking in stores. Al Medvitz stressed the fact that this is the center of agricultural community in Northern California and impacts nationwide, and that people probably are not aware of it who've moved into some of our retirement areas and Liberty. But we have been and continue to be the center of agriculture. And we need to have a broad-based economy and recognizing the interaction of agriculture with that economy, and that our general plan should recognize the relationship between the two. I went through a litany of things that I'd like to see for the city to prosper, and I'm not going to bore you with those, but to me, they were all important, but I want to hit what other people said, and then if I have any time remaining, I'll get to those. Lori doesn't want the big box stores, the big Targets that would bring in more traffic on Highway 12 and basically create gridlock in our community. She likes the small town atmosphere. So circulation and how to handle it is very important. Iwona talked about the need for some type of maybe boat storage, new marinas, activities that related to the use of the river. Sue also mentioned her desire that we have walking trails, that people sometimes play golf, that other people are kind of unable physically to do things. And so we have a variety of people that live in Rio Vista, some who just like the agricultural or like the recreational, or are in one area and other people in another. So to recognize the diversity of activities that are needed for a very diverse economy of a lot of older people and a lot of young people, and recognizing that we have different districts and how we connect all those districts together and all this multitude of activities. And Albert hit on the sphere of influence, and I had hit on a bit too. We just don't want to design around the city limits. We have a sphere of influence that includes farming. This town was created by 5 ranch families. It is still an agricultural center, and we have to recognize how we're going to develop in the sphere of influence surrounding the city, because it has to be incorporated into the city before any actual development could occur. Now, I've tried to hit about 3 things from each people. I had about 6 things, and I'll hit 3 of them. I think we need to enhance the quality of our recreational activities and a variety of educational, artistic, musical, and performing arts and cultural opportunities, because we have Trilogy. Walnut Creek had Rossmore. Walnut Creek put in the vision of performing arts and visual arts, built a performing center. We don't have that type of building or buildings where the city has been involved. The city has to get more involved in that. We need to foster our small businesses and our entrepreneurship, create new economic opportunities and employment opportunities in the community. We need to preserve our natural surroundings, but also use them. And our Vista Hills, the Montezuma Hills, and the Sacramento River. We used to have a ski jump in front of City Hall. the skiing would go around it. They jump, and there were activities taking place downtown. We don't see that anymore. We need to recognize our history and our heritage of agriculture. We need to have our zoning and land uses more flexible and less restrictive, because we have to grow with the growing cultures of our community. The one thing that I was critical about was that I don't think that the city government gets that involved in its creation of a prospering community. And that we've got to make information more available. We've got to act promptly and positively to grant our discretionary and ministerial permits so that we can grow and promote the community. And the last thing I'll hit is the circulation between the districts. We need to improve that. But I agree with Albert, we don't want to bypass Rio Vista with Highway 12, because that does bring the only activity that we see downtown. When I'm working downtown as a volunteer, the people that walk into the art gallery are from out of town, coming from Sacramento, Yuba City, Merced, and they're eating at Foster's, and they're coming into town. And if you bypass the city, you will kill the downtown core area. You will absolutely kill it. That's all I have to say.
Jim, I think you did a great job. I don't really have I have nothing to add. I think thank you for summarizing that, and thanks to everybody who took part in our group. I think we came up with some great ideas. So I'm going to turn off my share, and we'll go to the last group. Paul?
Eunice, I think your group volunteered you to report out. So what did you learn?
Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, we are.
So we had a pretty interesting discussion as well. In terms of the best aspects about Rio Vista, we heard that people love the small town feel. The community asset was the waterfront. People really appreciated and enjoyed the community parade, festivals, such as Hog August Bite, and some of the Christmas festivals that take place. People also love the opportunity to become a volunteer to help the community prosper, and also like the number of organizations and nonprofits that contributed to the city. In terms of what could be better about the city in the future, some of our community members shared that you don't see anything in downtown that's actually historic. So I guess there's a sign that leads to downtown indicating that downtown is historic, but once you get to downtown, you don't see or understand what actually is historic about the downtown core. So maybe more signage for other historical buildings. And there's a cemetery, unidentified cemetery that a community member wanted more signage and indication of its historical significance. People also wanted a permanent performing arts stage, free parking, access to the river so that people can drive up to the river and have lunch. Fire hydrants in downtown Rio Vista are rusted, so some retouch to the hydrants. Fewer vacant stores on Main Street. Ideally, none would be best. Require maintenance for vacant buildings, and improving transportation for getting in and out of the city. So improvement traffic flow and through the Highway 12. In terms of what you would like to see in Rio Vista that's not there today, people mentioned having more medical offices, a better city website, and also in light of in the same vein, better communication with local people for local news, such as utilization of the local newspaper called The Beacon, or having a regular email newsletter that's sent out monthly or quarterly. People also thought it would be nice to have more places for overnight stays, some additional attractions such as wine and arts festival, and some possibly more community events revolving around balloons or balloon festivals or the airport. And what are the 2 to 3 biggest issues in the city that should be addressed? Some people mentioned that there's encampments along the river, blighted property, specifically motel across Highway 12, better code enforcement, improvements on trailers and large truck parking in residential areas, vacant storefronts, and improving sidewalks. So that was a recap of our discussion.
Fabulous. Al, I see that your hand's up. We're pretty short on time, but do you have a quick comment? Christine, could you allow Al to chime in? Just a second, Al, you're muted still.
Real quick about the diversity issue, ethnic diversity. Rio Vista has a long history of being a mixing place of people from around the world. The Chinese who built the levees. There were people from Southeast Asia here working in agriculture, and as well as African Americans. So that needs to be emphasized, especially in this day and age. And in particular, the unidentified cemetery that I think is referring to the one up across from Lyra's. There are the memorials of the Asian American or the Asians who were killed in the explosion of the Sierra a steamboat at the foot of Main Street in the 19th century. That's an important, and I think, unrecognized and disrespected landmark and an important place. I think, fortunately, it's still there, but if you walk in, you can see the memorials that are in the ground, essentially tombstones. I'm not sure that's actually a burial ground, but it certainly is a memorial to those people.
Fantastic. Thanks, Al, for weighing in on that. First of all, I want to say just really a heartfelt thank you for your thoughts, your ideas, your input. What's interesting is a lot of what we heard today, we had heard on Thursday evening from community members, and we had previously heard from community members, but there's always a new twist and a new facet, a new aspect. So we're both getting validation of what we've been learning, as well as getting more information and deeper understanding. And that's what this is all about, helping our team to really understand what this community is, what it cares about. And certainly we heard some new items today that were great additions. We appreciate all of that input. And we are going to continue to seek through the website and through the MindMixer site to get as much input as we can. We are at our time limit right now. So what I'm going to do is first ask Nick to bring up slide 15 from the presentation. More information. Keep going. There we go. Okay, so we mentioned at the outset that there's these 2 digital venues that you can get information from. We, thanks to Vice Mayor Dolk, he secured the domain riovista2045.com. If you simply Google riovista2045.com, you'll get taken to the general plan website. I had heard some questions of, hey, is there an easy way for me to put a comment in that you guys will get? Absolutely. You could do that through the general plan website. All of the meetings that we have, the notes, the work product, everything will be logged on that website. So you'll see there's a number of pages, and that's just going to build out as we go through the process. The second site is, it's a similar name, but it's riovista2045.mindmixer.com. And I will just let you know that when you go, you're going to be asked to sign in and create an identity. That's because the people who have developed this MindMixer site have found that, just having folks, log in and provide a little bit of information really helps to validate the good input that we receive. On the MindMixer site, there's a survey. We'd love for everybody in Rio Vista to take this survey. Some of it is information that you've been talking about today, but we're really trying to understand the community, and the way we do that best is when you share your information, your thoughts. And so there is a survey on MindMixer. You'll also see that you can identify big issues in the community, or maybe you'll see somebody else identified an issue and you can like it. And it's just like basically saying, yeah, that person has a really important issue, and I also think you should consider it. So in that way, we start to really understand what's most important to Rio Vista. So these have been up for a moment or two now. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to get these down. RioVista2045.com is the website, and then RioVista2045.mindmixer.com is more of a kind of an input community survey venue. So Nick, go ahead and take it down. Really, we welcome everybody's participation. We're going to be having additional meetings. We'll probably try to lean on the Beacon to put some articles out, because that does seem to be one of the good ways that a lot of folks in the community who aren't necessarily going to websites can pick up the information about the general plan in the community. So at this point, Nick, is there anything else we wanted to cover before we let these folks enjoy their Saturday morning? You're muted.
Thanks, Paul. No, I think you covered pretty much everything that we need to discuss.
Okay, well, I again really appreciate it. If I'm not in any hurry to get off, but I did want to respect your time. If there's any last questions, I'll stick around. If anybody has anything they want to talk about, I'll stick around. But if anybody's really ready to get going, then we're going to wrap the meeting up right now. So again, the offer is that if you have any last things you want to talk about, I'll stay on for a minute or two more, or an hour or two more, whatever it takes. But I'll let everybody go at this point, and hope you have a great weekend. And thanks again for your time. We really appreciate it.
Good.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thanks. Bye.